Hello, my sewing friends. This is Friday Sews. I'm Jen, and this is my sewing room, and I'm back. I was absent from you for Friday Sews last week, and I'll get into all that when we talk about life. But I want to talk about sewing first, because Friday Sews is when we talk about what we're sewing, what we've been sewing, what's on the table right now, what we're going to be doing in the coming weekend. Life, a little bit of life stuck in at the end. So let me tell you about what I've been doing. This past week, I got home from a trip I took and late Sunday night. And so I had been thinking that I would skip the challenge on Instagram that is So Frugal 2023. And that's a hashtag. So if you go to Instagram, put the hashtag in the search box and it will bring up every one of the entries into this challenge. Well, I wasn't going to do it. I didn't really plan on it last year, and at the very last second, I threw something in. So I wasn't going to do it this year. I thought too much is going on. I've had too many deadlines. No, I don't want to do it. Well, on the way home, I was thinking, though, you do have that pattern for that dress. Well, it's the Mary Quant Georgie dress. And I found this a couple of years ago when I was researching free patterns, and it was patterns designed by Alice Coe for the Mary Quant exhibition that happened at the Royal Victoria Museum a couple of years ago. And the patterns are still available. I'll link them all below. And I think there are just two, but there are a couple of dresses from the exhibition that Alice took and made patterns for and kind of copied. And so I knew I had it and I wanted to make it and I never had. And I thought, well, maybe I can just make that. So I had some sheets in my stash. This is one of them. And a few headaches here and there, but I got it done. And so that was my entry into the So Frugal 2023 challenge on Instagram. So I worked on that pretty much all week. I thought it was going to be pretty easy, but no, it's not. It's more of an intermediate level sewing project. And it's that way because of a lined bodice and because you have to pleat it, but you have to figure out the pleats, and it takes a lot of math and brain work. And so I did it with two sheets. This is one, this is the skirt, and the stripe is the bodice is a stripe. That was a coordinating sheet. So had just enough fabric, and I'm very pleased with the results. So I'll talk about that another time, but that's what I worked on this week. I also worked a little bit on an apron for my daughter for her birthday, and she requested a specific kind of apron. So I've been working with Butterick 5125. That is an old pattern. I say old, and mine is really beaten up because I've used it a lot, but it's from 2007. So, it's not like 30 or 40 years old, but you can't find it anymore. You can find ones that are very similar to this. It's kind of like they took the design and just kind of repackaged it, essentially. But it's a very well-worn, very well-loved apron pattern that I've made a lot of times. In fact, I'll link you to a video up here where I did a whole thing on the ones I'd made all those years ago. So she wanted a rainbow, and so I have this, and initially I was going to do a combination of the bodice, the top of this one, and the bottom part of another one, and I didn't have enough fabric, so I decided to go completely with that one. But she wants a pocket, and actually I was going to make the pocket out of this because I thought, oh yeah, that'll work. And I have a little, I don't see it, a little printout of a cat face, and because she's a huge cat lover. And so I thought, well, I'll do it on the pocket. But I was looking for something else. I was doing something else in my basket of patterns over there. And I found this that I had gotten for her. This is a fat quarter from Walmart, and it's little cat paw prints. And I thought, oh, maybe I could do something with that. The thing is, the cat face is just the nose, the whiskers, and the eyes and the ears. And I was just going to satin stitch those. It's not like a full-on cat face. It's just those elements that you can satin stitch and you get the idea of a cat face. So This is a print, and I don't know what I'm going to do about this, because, you know, it would look better and more obvious on a solid. I'll figure it out. Yes, so that I had to figure out, and I was disappointed that I didn't have enough fabric for the other apron, but that's okay. That will be fine. Coming up this coming week, what am I going to be working on? Well, see that? I'm going to figure that out. I have a lot of ideas about how to fix that. Well, that's not true. I have a couple of ideas. Yes, my brain is so full of ideas. But that is New Look 6673. I made this view and it doesn't fit, so I'm going to figure out how to make it fit. So I will get back to you on that. And then I'm also going to work on this. This is Vogue 9357. And I'm going to I am making view A, which is this one. And so far, I got this. I've got an Oxford cloth lining and a linen stripe that's been in my stash for a long time, longer than I can remember. So this has been a journey to get this to fit, and I'm very confident, not even optimistic, but confident that I figured it out and I'm going to be able to finish it. And you know, it's funny, for that Mary Quant dress, I have a whole box full of zippers. I bet I have 50 zippers in there. And did I have a white 22-inch zipper? No. So I got two. Put one in the Mary Quant dress, and then I realized I'm going to need one for this. So good thing I got two. Boy, it is time for an order to whack. I swear I want to call that whack all the time. To order more zippers. So I'll get to that. Okay, let me tell you about life. The reason I was out of commission all last week and even last weekend, I went to Ohio. I live in Florida, and I went to Ohio, where I'm from, to a memorial service for my mother-in-law. She passed away over the weekend of when I went to the Sewing Expo, which was St. Patrick's Day weekend. And so we did a memorial service in Ohio, but she was laid to rest in Indiana. And so we had we had to traipse everybody up there for the memorial service in Ohio, and then drive over to Indiana, which was a fair distance. I mean, it was probably 4.5 hours, something like that, to southern Indiana, where we had another memorial service, and she was laid to rest. So let me just tell you in a few words what that was. Okay, first of all, let me tell you about me and the fact that I'm an introvert, which doesn't mean that I'm shy. It means that I can turn it on, but for a limited time, because people take energy from me. They just suck it right out of me. Whereas an extrovert gets their energy from being with people. And I know a lot of people like that. My husband is like that. And so we're a good balance, you know? And it's funny, you hear extrovert and you think people are like that all the time, and they're not. They need downtime too. But that's not where they get their energy. Well, I do. I get my energy from being alone. So I'd been at this expo, thoroughly enjoying everyone, and I got home and it was like, oh boy, I need to go to sleep for a week and just kind of get back to myself again, not be depleted of all this emotional energy, because it bleeds over, it makes you tired. Well, I was with my family, my 5 kids, my son-in-law and my grandson, my husband, and extended family beyond that. And we went in and landed at my parents' house, so we were with them, and then they're also in Ohio, but they're kind of a stopping point where we can stop and spend the night and then go on, and stop and spend the night and go on. And so it was a whole lot of chiefs, not very many Indians. And so we have the way that played out was that we had cars driven by people, and people in those cars who could take other people, and not everybody was always leaving and going to the same destination, so, or at least at the same time. So it got really crazy. So, you know, introvert does not get energy from people, gets worn out from people. And I was with them for, 5 or 6 days. So I got home and I was ready to give up on life. I exaggerate everything, don't I? No, I came in here and I started working on the Mary Quant dress, which was very rejuvenating. And we all got a cold. We didn't get sick. We all did COVID tests. No sickness. But we all got a cold. So yeah, that was quite a week, quite a weekend, and absolutely the reason I have not been with you. Your comments from a couple of weeks ago. Now, I didn't pull out very many, mainly because of the question for that week was, what's your favorite color of green? And we had the entire spectrum from, oh, I love every shade, to I hate green, there's nothing green in my closet, I don't like it, and everything in between. Olive green, Kelly green, emerald green, light green, sage green, lime green, all of them. So that's why I didn't pull a whole lot of comments, because a lot of them had to do with that. But I have a few here. Okay, Tiffany at Who's Your Handmaid says, hey Jen, so sorry to hear of the passing of your mother-in-law. Our loss is heaven's gain. Absolutely. I'll be thinking and praying for your family during this time. I hope our Indiana weather will warm up for you when you visit. Perhaps you can bring us some Florida sunshine. You're welcome. It was really warm and sunny when I was in Indiana. So, yep, there you go. Actually, she's in Indiana, in a town that is very close. It's actually the town of Size, which is not very big, but it's the town of Size that's very close to where we were. So, hi, Tiffany. Julie Harwood says, my husband and I watched as my dad passed away at 89, and my husband said it was like watching a clock run down. Boy, that is so true, isn't it? Those of us who have experienced that slowing down, that very gradual slowing down, it's that's what it's like. It's like a clock winding down. Now, I lost my dad when I was 11 years old in a car accident, so I know the difference, and I can appreciate that. I was so glad she said that, because I thought that says it exactly the way that it happened. She said that was a great comfort to me in my grief. My dad was ready to meet Mom again. Nanette Moshier says you could make the cat into the pocket of the apron. Thank you, Nanette. Actually, that was the first time that occurred to me. I read your comment and I thought, oh yeah, that's way easier than trying to scale the face of the cat into the top of the apron. Way better. So thank you. That's what I'm going to do. Patricia Oswald says, on the top that folds over, she's talking about this one that doesn't fit because the top of it wants to fold over. She said, how about putting an elastic casing down the center front for a little ruching detail? That's a great idea. And actually, that did occur to me, to just kind of do this, which would bring this part up. Like, it would, you've seen the way that some tops are like that. They're just kind of gathered right here. And you're right, that would probably solve the problem. I don't think that that's the way I want to do it, but it is a very good solution, and it would be a very easy solution. So I don't know, I may get there and decide, you know what, I'm done. This is what I want to do. So thank you for that. Heather N says, question, do you find sewing pattern instructions harder to understand on new patterns? That's a good question. It depends on whether you're talking about indies or big four. I'm assuming she means big four. And for me, I can't really effectively answer that question because I've been sewing for so long that I've just adapted along the way. And I don't think they're that different, and I certainly don't think they're harder to understand. I don't think they skip steps and, do all those things, other than the occasional mistake here and there, which of course, in anything, there are going to be occasional errors. I find some independent pattern company instructions difficult to follow, but I do think that they go into a whole lot more detail than the big four. The big four assume that you know a little bit about sewing. So, interesting question. I'll be interested to hear what you all say in the comments. And the last one, Gail Martinez says, question, when tracing dart lines, back in the day, we used tracing paper with the wheel. Have tried today's tracing paper and it doesn't work. What do you do? Well, I don't generally use tracing paper. What I do is I mark the tip of the dart with a pin with the pattern tissue over it. And then I pull up the pattern tissue, and with a marker, I just mark that dot. And at the bottom of what are called the dart legs, the places where you start sewing at the seam line, I mark other dots, like 2 more dots. And then I just take a ruler and draw it in. And that seems to be the easiest solution and the most accurate solution. So I don't know if that's the best answer. That's just how I do it. I'm sure other people have other more effective ways of doing it. But yeah, I kind of got away from tracing paper, and then I kind of revived it a little bit. And honestly, I forget about it most of the time. And it's just not as quick as just doing the dots. So last week's question, which obviously I wasn't there, was what decade of vintage pattern do you love? Well, obviously this refers to big 4 patterns, although it wouldn't have to, I suppose. It could refer to independent patterns because a lot of the patterns in the 50s were mail order. So, but the style, the general style decade of patterns that I love is 1990. I love the ruffles, the big shoulder pads, the big everything, big hair, big full skirts, dropped waist. They were dropped down on top of your hips. Love those. And, you know, big puffy sleeves, all of the things. I loved all that. I still love all that. Big collars, portrait collars, statement sleeves. Yes, all that. So that's my favorite. So let me know what your favorite is. And this week's question is a very simple one. Are you a quilter or a sewer? Primarily. Like, I'm a sewer. It's not that I haven't ever done some quilting, but I've done little pieces of that. You know, like I've quilted something, like pot holders. I did that recently. So I'm a sewer. Yeah, I prefer to sew clothing. You may prefer to quilt, but you do sew clothing. So let me know about you. That will do it for Friday Sews this week. And as always, if you'd like to see a whole playlist of my Friday Sews, check right over here. And I will simply leave you with this. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.